That night was a troubling night. It has never happened that way before between Peter and his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Chief and Lolo Nadozie. It was a night he would not forget. He had never looked at his father before to say no. He had never argued with his parents before, so it was a first of its kind. He couldn't imagine that he was able to tell his father no. He couldn't imagine that he was able to say to his mom, Mommy, this one I will not do it. He did not sleep. He couldn't even sleep, even if he wanted to sleep. He couldn't sleep. He was thinking all through the night. Many things came on his mind. One of those things that came on his mind was what his friends would say if they know that his father had gotten him a wife who is half educated and who is a maid. He did not want anything to be called being married to a maid. And not just a maid, but a maid in the home of Chief Amadi. It was so troubling. He imagined that his friends would ridicule him. He imagined that his friend Mark, Chief Amadi's first son, would also laugh at him. He imagined that his being under the wings of his parents is becoming too much. So he's looking for every way possible to break out. It was a final battle. This is for him a final battle. So he said to himself, first, I will talk to Mark. So the following day, they had a time out together, Mark and Peter. They stayed together and they talked about the matter, and it was a serious matter. Of course, Mark encouraged him to stand by his word and not to budge. The same thing happened to Mark. His father, Chief Amadi, also wanted to get him a girl, but from the very beginning of that idea, he told them that that would not happen. And the way the thing turned out, they perished the idea. So Mark encouraged Peter never to allow such to happen. Our parents have a way of having their influence over us. But on the issue of who your babe will be, who your wife will be, Mark emphasized. With this encouragement, Peter was emboldened and he also had another idea. He didn't mind to go to Chief Amadi because he believed that somebody who has the ears of his father, Chief Nadozie, should hear this and talk to him. And of course, once his father is brought in line, he knew that his mother too would not be a problem. So that day before he left the house, he booked an appointment to see Chief Amadi. And Chief Amadi was not thinking on that line. So the following day, he came around again to see Chief Amadi, and he brought up the issue of how his father wants to give him a wife that he did not want. And of course, he would not tell Chief Amadi that it was Abigail, the housemaid in the house, that is the person on the table. But they just covered the identity of the person and told Chief Amadi that, sir, I cannot do this. I love my parents. I don't even like the idea that I am standing up for my dad and saying to him, no, I cannot marry who you want me to marry. I wouldn't want any deeper than this quarrel with my parents, with my father, with my mom. I don't want it. But this one is a no, sir. Please, sir, kindly help me to talk to them. Let them know that I love them and I respect them. But on this one, they should follow why I take the lead. Hmm. Chief Amadi, already having an experience of what happened between him and his son Mark, agreed to talk to his friend, Chief Nadozie. It was not long. They had an appointment together, and of course, it was not a difficult thing to bring up the matter. And Chief Nadozie was like, it must be a serious matter. Peter to come to you. That gave him a point of concern because for Peter to go to Chief Amadi, it means it is seriously a serious matter to him. So when he got home, he told his wife, and after discussing it with the wife, they agreed that they should bring Peter back on the discussion table. Because that night, they brought Peter back on the discussion table, and the idea is, okay, if you say you want a wife of your own choice, no problem. But do not forget that marriage, your marriage, anybody's marriage, it's a major foundation for sustainable future, sustainable growth, and sustainable life. Don't ever forget that. Those were the words of his father to him and said, okay, go ahead, do what you want to do. We are here for you. That night, it was like a relief. It was like a boil that was pierced open. It was like something like heavy weight lifted off his shoulder. He slept like never before in the last few days. After this conversation with his parents, he imagined that it would not be nice to do nothing. He imagined it would be important for him to prove himself as someone worthy of trusting. So he imagined it is important to think of who would be his wife. Before now, his father had told him that 7 years after the age of 18 is enough to prepare for marriage. He believed that every young man at the age of 24, 25 should be married. 25, the max. 24, the minimum, should be married. So he'd been told, he'd been given that lecture already. So he knew at the age of 24, he should be preparing for marriage. That's what his father had told him earlier on. And that was the reason behind him looking for a wife for him. I mean, Chief Nadozie looking for a wife for Peter. Peter has a casual friend. Not really much a casual friend, but a friend he could call not casual, but not intimate. Her name is Magdalene. He thought about Magdalene. He thought about many other friends he had, but came to the conclusion that Magdalene should be a better option. Magdalene is educated. He has his master's degree and is working with a telecom company and posh, educated, enlightened young lady. And so he decided to go out to talk to her about the matter. They could discuss generally. They had never come to the point of intimate relationship. So you could say that Magdalene is his girlfriend, but not intimate girlfriend. So he booked an appointment with Magdalene for them to talk about the matter. And so on the evening of the appointment after their work schedule that day, Magdalene was surprised. It had never happened that way. I mean, they could talk any moment, they talk at any place, but not that kind of special appointment. And of course, Peter opened up to her and told her the matter on the table. Peter opened up to her and told her the matter on the table and would want them to take the game on. Magdalene, not being a small girl, understood what Peter was saying and said, okay, we are already friends. Let's see how it goes. Of course, they had their drink and their food and had conversations generally and left. And of course, at that moment, intimate relationship had started. They could talk closely, they could share closely. So Peter thought that they are now on intimate relationship. A week, 2 weeks after, and something happened. Peter would want to know more about Magdalene, and Magdalene would be wondering why Peter would want to know more about her, and when she would want to know more about him too, Peter would be a little bit reluctant to do so. So that commandeering control over her was something she's not cut off. Of course, Magdalene sees the relationship as a mutual relationship, an equal relationship that each person should respect the other person and each person should have limits and have boundaries. Peter sees it from the eyes of relationship of his mother and his father, where the father controls and the mother submits completely. Magdalene would not take that from Peter. Peter was like, we've not even started anything, we're already having conflict. Their conflict was too much. The month was over, their conflict was every day increasing. I mean, they would not have an ordinary conversation without some sprinkling of quarrel. So their quarrel was increasing and increasing, and they managed it for like 2 months. Magdalene is educated. Magdalene has a good job. Magdalene is from a good family. Magdalene is everything you can think about. Educated, polished, society lady, but their compatibility was near to zero, very close to zero. After 2 months of the relationship, of course, he could not bring her home because he was already seeing negative signals. Peter called off the relationship and preferred for them to stay casual friends. It was not funny, but he called it off. After a week or so, Mark introduced another girl to him, and her name is Georgina, and they started relating. Georgina is a social butterfly. Georgina likes to party. Georgina likes to mingle and associate. I mean, she likes social life. She likes social life. And Peter is a little bit conservative because of his background. Georgina would like to party, would like to go for clubs. Peter wouldn't do that. Anyway, Mark gave a good testimony of Georgina and they agreed to see how it works and they started off. The compatibility was also a troubling one. Georgina liked to party. Peter does not like to party. Georgina likes to mingle and be friends to many people. Peter does not like that. This one did not even last up to 1 month and they knew it would not work. It was a struggle It was a frustrating struggle. And Peter didn't know what to do. So one day, Peter was returning from work and he met a young lady who was buying fruits. At the same point, he too buys fruits. And one thing led to another. They exchanged conversations, and from exchanging conversation, don't forget that Peter, at every girl he looks at, there's something that suggests to him, could this be the person? So as they exchanged conversations, Peter was like, wow, this person sounds nice. This person sounds so nice. This person sounds so nice. And her name is Abigail. Peter was like, wow, Abigail? Anyway, they sparked off a relationship and they started talking. And as they kept talking, Peter realized that Abigail is quick to temper. Abigail will not take nonsense. Abigail is very intelligent, but flat on temperament. Abigail would not tolerate many of Peter's excesses. And Abigail is a control freak. The relationship lasted for about a month. Peter realized that it's not working and he would not be able to be with a lady with quick temperament, a lady who's a control freak. Abigail, this time around, was the one who called up the relationship because she was tired of shouting on the excesses of Peter. At the end of this relationship, something happened. Peter realized that maybe it is important or necessary to even have a chance with the first Abigail. You know the first Abigail? The one that lives in Chief Amadi's home. The name of this last girl sparked that curiosity. Maybe I should humble myself and go to my father and admit that I have not really taken the first step of knowing the girl for myself. And that's what he did. Peter, that same evening that the other relationship crashed, went to his father and apologized and ate up his words and said, "Sir, I would like to know Abigail. Would you arrange for a conversation with her? Please, would you bring her home?" Peter was humble enough to talk to the father. And that night, the father was so glad. The father believed that his prayer worked. And of course, the father told his wife, Madam Adora, and they arranged for a meeting in their home for a dinner and invited Abigail, of course, with the permission of Chief Amadi. And that evening with Abigail, Peter realized that education, it's not all about Western education. There are many things about education. Education that only includes Western education is incomplete. Peter realized that Abigail has education. What she does not have is Western education. Because Abigail lived with her grandmom when her parents died, and her grandmom taught her home education. Her grandmom taught her character. Her grandmom taught her principles. Her grandmom taught her respect, honor, and so on. Abigail, the one from Chief Amadi's home, is full of respect, is full of order, is full of decorum. And you could see it with less struggle. You could see that Abigail is someone you can easily relate with. Wow. Now, comparing all his struggle, Peter comparing all his struggle with the other girls, especially the last one, Abigail, he would not imagine that this is what he was rejecting. They had a conversation that evening, and it was like a relief. It was completely a huge relief. There was a smile on everyone's face, the parents, Peter himself, and of course, the blessed Abigail, who was never expecting such, but felt what a privilege. She was happy. They were all happy. I tell you the truth, in a week, in a month time, the relationship was as if they have been together for years. And Peter, as a matter of urgency, contributed so much to ensure that Abigail's classes, adult education classes, became private, no longer public. Peter contributed to making sure that Abigail get the best of education. You can't believe it. In 6 months' time, Peter was ready to take Abigail as wife. The parents were so happy. The parents so happy that they are willing to support them to any length. Before the end of that year, the bride price of Abigail was paid. And by the January of the following year, Abigail and Peter were married as husband and wife, while Abigail continued her education. What are the lessons for us? What are we supposed to learn from this story? Number one, love does not exist anyway apart from what you make it to be. Number two, love It's not fantasy. Love is reality. What do you want determines the kind of love you get. Do you want a social ornament? Do you want a person that people outside, the public, will compliment you with? Is that what you want? That's what you will get. Do you want a wife or a spouse or a husband that will help you maintain a stable home? If that's what you want, that's what you get. Do you want a spouse that will help you build a sustainable future? If that's what you want, that's what you will get. The question is, what do you want? If you want someone that people will praise you and say, oh, your wife or your husband is wonderful, but at home, that person will be killing you. That's what you get. So what you want determines who you go for. If you want the beauty of the face and not the beauty of the home, that's what you go for, and that's what you will get. It depends on what you want. Question is, what do you want? First, determine what you want. That will help you to determine what you will get. God bless you. This is Kingdom Care Stories. Until I come your way again, be blessed. Help us share the story. And tell us what you think about the story so that the next story we bring to you will be of blessing to you and others. Thank you.